In this video, I'm going to teach you my exact method on how I get my clients from 0 views or little traction at all on social media to over 1 million views in just 90 days. And for some cases, it happens in 2 weeks. My hope for you is to take what you learned from this video so that you can implement in your content strategy right away. I work with so many people who spend hours scripting, researching. They might follow trends. They might see exactly what they see on the internet and just copy it straight up. They might hire editors. They might hire videographers, but still they're stuck in 200 view jail. Even if you tried posting every single day, hired videographers and editors, followed some trends, and still you're not getting anywhere. Yet ask yourself this. You see these brands on social media and they're crushing it. It seems like they post a video, 100,000 views, 200,000 views, a million views. What are you doing wrong? Well, in this video, I'm gonna explain exactly that, and hopefully this will help you out. So who am I and why should you care what I have to say? Well, I've been making content for the last 7 years for some of the biggest brands and influencers in the space. One being Adam W. At the time, he had over 10 million followers on TikTok, every single video amassing millions and millions of views. I've also worked for another fitness influencer, and we've amassed over 2 million followers on YouTube alone. Not to mention tens of thousands of dollars in brand deals. Not only have I worked with people with a following, but I've also worked with content creators and brands, and I've been able to help those clients hit a 1 million view video in their first 2 weeks of working with me. Again, why should you care and why is this relevant to you? Now, I'll be real, it wasn't always like this. It took me 7 years of trial and error, grinding countless nights, hours and hours and hours of research to see what works for other people and what doesn't work for certain people. Why does one video do extremely well and a very similar video gets poopy views? It doesn't make sense until it clicks. But the number one misconception is most people think this is about consistency. But after years and years of doing this, I found that consistency is only the first step. But here's the thing. If you're doing consistent action in the wrong direction, are you growing or are you actually wasting your time? Unfortunately, you might be wasting your time. You might be spending hours and hours of research only to get a couple hundred views. You're overwhelmed, and on top of that, your brand looks messy. It looks all over the place and not together. One of the reasons is you might be copying your competitors without actually knowing the strategy behind why they're doing what they're doing and why it gets views and why people resonate. And sometimes it's as little as understanding why things go viral that makes all the difference. That's why I created the content leverage system. Now, it's a 5-step system I walk through every single one of my clients in order to get results fast and not waste their time. So step 1 I take my clients through is something called the viral content audit. Let's say your brand is a rocket ship, right? And your goal is to get to the moon. Now, with rockets, I'm not a rocket scientist. That would be pretty cool if I was, but I'm not. But here's the thing. When it comes to figuring out how they're gonna get their rocket, aka your brand, from point A to point B, they have to know where they're going. But let's say they're trying to get to the moon. If they're off by just 1 degree, instead of going to their destination, they might end up hurtling towards the sun in a fiery death. Now let's say that rocket ship is your brand, right? You spend all this time researching and all these dollars hiring the right content team to make this beautiful content for you. But if it's not created with the strategy in mind to head to your destination, go to the moon, then you might end up burning and wasting a bunch of money. And a bunch of time too, which we don't want. So the audit is so that way we figure out exactly what you're doing, exactly what's working, and what you want to stop doing that's not working, and what you want to start doing that is working. With my clients, we actually do all that work for you. We do it in a comprehensive deep dive on your current content, what works and what doesn't, and how can we take that content, replicate it, apply it to the rest of your content, and scale from there. Now, most people think, oh, cool, I got a viral video, what's next? For example, one of my clients was a comedy client. This client knew nothing about social media. He was actually in construction before he hired me on, and he wanted to be a comedian. So we started doing comedy content. So we tried a bunch of things, and some of them worked, and so he got traction on some of them. But the thing that really popped off, the thing that got him over 1 million views across multiple platforms for short form content, was this thing about a specific baseball player. At the time, something that's never happened before in Major League Baseball history happened right here in Los Angeles. The Dodgers signed 2 baseball players for the first time ever for over $1 billion for their contract. Now, that's never happened before. It made huge news, and it was in the news, kid you not, for about a month. It was insane. We decided to dress up our creator as the translator, the interpreter, and capitalize off of that trend. And then we made a couple skits off of that. First video got over 1 million views. So when that happened, we didn't say, oh, that was cool, let's move on to the next content. No, we actually doubled down. So what we did immediately after is we filmed 2 to 3 more with that same interpreter character. And it was essentially the same skit. We just changed around the characters and the situation a little bit. And those videos went on to do millions of views too. And not just on TikTok, but on all platforms. And that leads us into step 2, which is the magnetic message. Now, one of the misconceptions that brands do all the time is not having their messaging clear. Who are you making this content for? Now, ask yourself this. If I was your ideal customer, would I want to hire you for your services based on watching this content? That's $1 million question, right? Let's say you're a real estate agent. Now, what is the better piece of content? A story about how you got your real estate license and how you passed the exam and you overcame adversity, or a story about how a first-time home buyer can save thousands of dollars on their first home if they follow these 3 steps. Now, again, I'm just making this off the top of my head, but I would assume the second one. Why? Because that's more relevant to your target audience. The first one is good if you're trying to sell to real estate agents, right? Or you're trying to sell an education course towards real estate agents to help them pass their exam. Now, because we know that what's the end goal, what's the target audience, and what's the main offer, who are you trying to sell and what are you selling, now it makes the messaging and the direction of the content that much more clear. Now that we have the direction of the content of where we go, what do we make content about? So that brings us to step number 3, which is the content playbook. Now in marketing, there's this term called a funnel, and it basically looks like this. You get a wide range of people, and you attract that wide range of people, and then the more they get to know your content, the more they go down the sales funnel. It gets narrower, so you get a smaller base, and then it gets narrower, and then you'll get a tiny base. And then that tiny base are the people who buys from you. So if you're selling a course, or if you're selling a digital product, or if you're selling a physical product, this is how we want to think of the overall content strategy. Now, what kind of content goes in the top of funnel type of content? You're not necessarily hard selling your product. It's more of things like trends, dances, skits, even things like interviews, getting people's opinions on subjects that isn't directly related to your content. Now, types of content that fit into this pillar or this category is street interviews. You can just, like, I saw this really cool brand. It's a ramen brand, and all they do is go around and ask people how was their day or nice things about them or whatever. It's unrelated to ramen, but guess what? That brings in hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views, and now that they have a top of funnel, big pool of audience, now they have a bigger sample size for them to hard sell their product. Middle of the funnel content would be something like your founder's story, who you are and what your brand is about. A company that does this really well is David. They're a protein bar, and they document everything it takes when it comes to building their product, who the founders are, the real stories, the troubles and tribulations that their company goes through. And the reason why this is important is because, yes, it's not necessarily meant to go viral. It could be because of the storytelling aspect, but it lets the customer know who they are. And it actually builds brand authority and trust because it's like, okay, this is a real living and breathing company. They care about their quality. They care about what they're putting into their products. Now, that's great. Now, if you're a personal brand, coach, or consultant, something like this would be something like piece of authority building. You could post videos, behind the scenes videos, or photos of you actually coaching your clients. Now, again, this content isn't necessarily meant to go viral, but it's to show that you know what you're talking about and you're somebody who can trust and you're somebody that other people trust. So the first thing I tell my coaching clients when I'm coaching them with content is, yo, get testimonials of previous clients you've worked with. Get them to tell your audience how awesome you are and why they should work with you. Now, this isn't boasting. This is literally social proof. Humans are social creatures by default. So if they see other people who know, like, and trust you, then that will automatically attract them to be like, oh, I can work with it. Now, bottom of funnel content is very simple, very straightforward. It's like hard selling your product. So like if you have a energy drink company that's like, oh, buy one, get one free deal, 4th of July sale, whatever it is. It's like content specifically designed to sell. Now, a good strategy incorporates all these kinds of pillars in one shape, way, or form. Like if it's just viral content, at least it's leading them to a free lead magnet to go to a landing page, so that way you can hard sell them there. Or if you're a personal brand, maybe 60 to 70% of your content could be viral content, viral type content, and then the rest can be authority building content. Okay, so now that we have our content pillars and exactly what we're gonna make content of, the next step in our method is execute and feedback. So after we know exactly what kind of content we're gonna make, we're actually gonna create a system to where we can execute on this. Posting it at minimum 3 to 4 times a week, but if you really wanna see results faster, I'd say every single day. It's kind of like working out in the gym, right? Who's gonna get more gains? The person who goes once a week and works out maybe one muscle group at a time each week, or the person who goes in every single day, putting in the reps, eating the protein, seeing what they could be improving on, and then increasing the weight little by little each time. It's going to be the second person. So that's kind of how we want to think about content. Yes, you will see results if you're consistent, but again, what we said in the beginning of this video, consistency is the minimum requirement. Think about how many brands are consistent, but again, making content that doesn't get any traction. But luckily, with these first 3 steps, we're gonna see where we can improve with getting results. All these steps are the same exact steps I walk through with my clients. And what's really cool with my clients is I'm based in LA. So if you are based in LA, I actually go to the set with you. I actually teach you how to shoot the content in order to increase the chances of it to go viral. Because sometimes you could be doing everything right. It's just how it's packaged of how you're currently doing the content that makes all the difference. For instance, if you make one video that's okay and it's really good information, but all the value in the content is at the end of the script, or maybe it's shot in really low lighting, or maybe it's not hooky enough in the very beginning, that's something I actually help my clients with in person because I have a film background. I know exactly how this content is shot because I've been doing it for these influencers, getting millions of views every single video. I'll show you exactly the exact methods I use in order to achieve that. But again, I don't offer that to all my clients, only specific cases. But if you are interested in working together, if we are a right fit, then we can have that discussion a little bit later on. The final step is the content machine scaling. Now, why do we call it that? Because eventually we're building a machine. Like, content is not supposed to be hard. It is in the beginning only because you don't have systems. And systems mean everything. With my clients, I actually help them build the systems to make it more efficient. You don't want to be spending hours every single day finding the content. You don't want to be spending hours and hours and hours shooting it every single day. It doesn't make sense. We're going to actually help you put into place the right people in order to help you make the content, produce the content, post the content, and scale the content. So that way you can focus on what you do best, building your business, and then that way your team can focus on building the content, which is at the end of the day going to build your business anyway. Sometimes you might have a team. You might have a videographer that you work with. You might have an editor that you work with. Oftentimes I find that the person shooting the content and the person editing the content, sometimes it's yourself or sometimes you hire a team member, doesn't necessarily think of what will go viral. They might only be investing in whatever gets them paid, like shooting it pretty or editing it so that way it looks nice. But there's little nuances when it comes to knowing exactly what lighting, what angles, exactly how to edit, what sound effects, and the timing between which edits make the content go super viral. And again, it might be a little thing, a little tweak that might take you from low engagement to crazy numbers, crazy views, million views in 90 days, which we offer and which I'll help you coach through. And my offer, I even help coach your current employees. And keep in mind, this 5-step system might seem like a lot, but it's actually very simple. I actually help you do majority of the work. But again, you have to do the work too. I can't build your business for you. At the end of the day, it all depends on you. Okay, so now you have 2 choices after receiving this information. 1, you can continue to do it all on your own, keep doing what you're doing, and hope that something changes. Or 2, you can shortcut it and work with somebody who's already done the hard work. I'll tell you a little story. I've invested over $30,000 alone this year in just coaching and mentorship, specifically on communication, content, and how to coach people. So if I've invested all of that money to learn these skills, I'm actually saving you time and shortcutting it to teach you exactly what I learned. So that way you don't have to figure it out all on your own. You know exactly from someone who's invested the money and gotten results for my clients. And now I can impart that knowledge to you. For those of you who isn't taking content seriously, I will say this: content is the #1 thing you can do that you have to do in order to take your business to the next level. For example, there's this company called Nude Project. They were able to take their business from 0 to 30 million pounds in just 5 years. It's 2 19-year-olds. They prioritized content, and because of that, they were able to find rapid success in just 5 years, straight up off of content. Now, if they are able to do that from 0, nobody knows their brand, to $30 million, 30 million pounds in that short amount of time, what can you do for your business from adding content as a new pillar of marketing for your business? It's something that you need to figure out now. Whether it's with me or with something else, you need to get your content game on point. Because guess what? Not only are you competing with the thousands and thousands of AI videos out there, by the way, it's not happening in 5 years, it's happening now. If you're not able to stick out amongst a crowd of distraction and AI and all these other creators and all these other brands, your brand is actively dying. So it's very important to figure this out right now. And not only AI, but you're competing with everything on your timeline. And not only that, you're competing with outside distractions and all your other competitors as well. So content is something that's actually very important that you need to figure out right now. But if that sounds like something you need and that you haven't figured out yet, I'm actually doing a free 30-minute discovery call where we dive into your exact pain points, your content strategy, and we can go over everything I talked about in this video and hopefully offer some advice. And if it makes sense for us to work together, we can move forward to the next step. And if not, hopefully you can leave with something tangible that you can take to your business. But I highly suggest at least booking this call if this makes sense for you. With that being said, click the link below and I'll see you there.